Joining me on the program now, public theologian Dr Craig Heilmann. Craig, kia ora.
Kia ora, Andrew. Great to see you again, mate.
This is a tricky one, really, isn't it? In order to get things done within a country like China, things need to be done a certain cultural way. In order to get things done and to get a bishop approved, for example, you have to go with whoever the current communist government nominates. Is this just how they do business in China, in your view?
This is how the CCP does business, and this is another example of the Catholic Church making an agreement with the CCP, which is kind of like signing a pact with the devil. Mm-hmm. What's ironic here, Andrew, is that this auxiliary bishop was appointed by the CCP before Pope Leo rubber-stamped it. So the CCP made their choice. This guy has been part of what's called the Patriotic Association of Chinese Catholics, which basically is an organization started in the 1950s by Mao, and its whole goal was to overtake the Catholic Church. So there are sort of two Catholic churches in China. There is the surface church, which, you know, the CCP sort of control. There's the underground Catholic Church as well, I guess something like the Confessing Church in Germany and Nazi Germany. Yeah. And but the Pope has made a deal with the CCP, and this is an example where the CCP even got ahead of him.
Yeah, I mean, it is, when you look at it, it's very much cart before the horse in that regard, and I know a lot of people are very concerned about this. A little bit of pushback on this, though. Does it do any harm? I mean, hey, what the CCP intends for evil, God can work for good? Should we not give them too much credit in this occasion and say, hey, yeah, but God is still continuing to do great things within communist China?
Well, God's still sovereign, of course, but the worry here is the Patriotic Association of Chinese Catholics is a CCP-front organization. Yep. This bloke his name is Wu Jialan. He was high up in that organization. And the scary part is the guy that his appointment is replacing is a guy who, when they appointed him 2 years ago, he also was part of the Patriotic Association of Chinese Catholics. And at his ordination, he said, I'm stepping down from that. I'm not going to have a role in that anymore. That took the CCP by surprise. So they exiled him immediately back to his seminary. So they haven't put him in jail, but he's not allowed to have his appointment. So he's now been replaced by one of his underlings in that organization. It looks to me like he was trying to do the right thing. He was trying to clear the decks and say this is a church appointment, not a political appointment. Yeah. And for that, he's been exiled to his seminary. This bloke seems to be purely political.
Which brings the question of what would be gained. You know, that we've got a recent example of somebody who tried to do things the right way and say, hey, this is spiritual, and well, they ended up being exiled. That actually you need to have a seat at the table.
True.
And hey, I'm playing devil's advocate in this area on purpose, but does this at least allow the church to have a conversation, to have continuing influence within the culture, or is it too much compromise in your view, Craig?
I think the struggle here, it's a bit like Christopher Luxon appointing, you know, the next head of St. Patrick's in New Zealand. You know, it just doesn't smell right. It doesn't pass the smell test. What does the government know about theology? And in the CCP, we've got an atheistic government, so I'm not sure it knows anything about theology, or at least it shouldn't. So I just don't think it fits. I think the problem for the Catholic Church is they've got form here, Andrew. One of the things they did was sign a concordat with the Nazis back in World War II to sort of turn a blind eye. If we were left in peace, we'd turn a blind eye to what the Nazis were up to. It never worked for the Catholic Church. The Nazis took priests and put them in jail and did all sorts of things. So it's probably not wise what they've done, but they're just going to keep going down the track.
And hey, you mentioned that example. Of course, lots of cases of people within the Catholic Church during the Second World War who said, hey, this may be the church capital C policy, but lots of individuals took a stand against that. Some of them laid down their lives. Some of them put themselves in harm's way to serve other people in that space. It's not like good guys or bad guys in this.
No, and look, one of the differences in the German era church was the confessing church, which was Bonhoeffer's church and the church of Karl Barth and these guys.
Yep.
Basically, were saying, look, we're not going to let the Nazis meddle in the politics of the church. You know, that their job is to run the state and leave the church in peace. And basically, the Nuremberg race laws, what they did was anyone that had any Jewish heritage. So if you were a minister in Nazi Germany, you had any Jewish heritage. Didn't matter that you were now a Christian and a minister. You were not allowed to hold because it was a state church, right? You're not allowed to hold your position. A lot of Christians said no to that. They just said, look, the government can't be involved in the appointments of clerics. It's just not a good thing. So, but this is messy once the state and the church get mixed up together.
And hey, not restricted to Catholics as well. There is an extent to which I know under the Anglican tradition that the Prime Minister, the King, has a say in who gets appointed as bishops or archbishops and who gets to sit in the House of Lords. I mean, this is a tradition which crosses cultures and denominational boundaries in some ways.
Yeah, there's those 5 spiritual lords, of which the Prime Minister has to recommend to the King that you get to sit in the House of Lords, even though you're an Anglican. So, yeah, and that's what happens with the state church, but it's messy.
It is. Now, you do want the influence to go the other way, though, don't you? You would like the church to have an influence on the government. You mentioned Bonhoeffer beforehand, that yes, he was a Christian, yes, he was opposed to the state meddling with Christianity, although he was politically active himself, certainly.
Absolutely right, and that's the counter push, is that if you want to be able to meddle with the government, then you run the risk that the government may want to meddle with you, and of course governments typically do, as we know. So that's the way it goes. But yeah, appointing bishops and auxiliary bishops and things is probably where we probably want to draw some kind of line. I just don't think the CCP should be appointing bishops ahead of the Pope.
I'd love to get your view on this, and I know the Pope stopped taking your emails on this one, but I'd love to get your view on it. What stance should the Catholic Church have taken in this regard? Should they have taken a stronger stance? Should they have said, no, we're not rubber stamping your appointment here, we're going to appoint our own bishop? Would that have been the right thing to do ethically, and would it have achieved anything in your view, Craig?
So fairness to Leo, this wasn't his. This was done beforehand. He's just following a deal that's already been done.
Yep.
I think the Catholic Church read the writing on the wall and said, if we don't go along with this, there won't be a Catholic Church in China. The CCP would just destroy it. So I think they've taken of all the least palatable options, they've taken the least palatable one, or the most palatable one for them, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So I don't know that they had a lot of choices. But I don't know this is a good thing either.
No, I mean, hey, it's not a good thing, but there's tough choices made in this particular space. People's lives are at stake in this particular area, and still wanting to have that influence, still wanting to do what God would have them to do. A tricky one. I wouldn't want to be in their shoes. Not that it's very likely, Craig.
Not in this lifetime. But look, one thing, Andrew, it's not stopping the church from going ahead in China.
Yeah.
So that all the CCP's meddling, I'm sure the Catholic Church is doing well, like all other churches in China. So I doubt this is having any great effect at the average human level.
And hey, maybe like the previous bishop, the new bishop will have a bit of an epiphany. And decided to change sides on that one. We'll see how we go. Certainly something to pray into as well. Craig, appreciate your thoughts, your comments, your wisdom on this matter. Thanks for joining us today.
God bless, Andrew. Great to talk, mate.
Hey, thanks very much for joining us in the Rhema studio. Thanks very much for watching the interview. It's kind of nice to have an audience, actually. And if you did like what you watched, then do give us a like, do give us the thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more interviews like that one, or perhaps even better, subscribe and those interviews will come straight to you. Don't forget to turn on your notifications, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.